my name is Joe Kramer. I'm a physics teacher and a writer on P3. I'm here to talk to you about lesson 4. I love this lesson front to back. It features one of my favorite pieces of physics teaching gear, this force cart. And the way we use this cart to collect data and uncover Newton's second law is very clear and very coherent with our driving phenomenon. So let's see how it fits together. First, how we got here. In lesson 3, we figure out that increasing speed causes increased reaction distance, and some safety features can decrease the effect of human reaction time, so braking happens sooner. But we're wondering, how will speed affect the distance and time it takes to actually stop after the driver hits the brake? We haven't actually been looking at that in detail yet. This is an investigation lesson. It takes 3 days, and the material preparation is a heavy. Like this thing is kind of a chore to build. I enjoy building these types of things, but if you don't, there are some options that you can use that are not that would take you less time. But this is a hands-on investigation and does involve students to use their devices. The lesson happens over 3 big sections. Let's see what's happening in each section. So we reason through some speed time graphs on day 1, and we figure out that stopping time would be affected by mass, initial speed, and force. We haven't done any experiments yet, but we think through this, and it makes sense that those 3 things would matter. We then design and collect qualitative data using this force cart, and we figure out that stopping time is proportional to mass and initial speed and inversely proportional to stopping force. These 3 relationships then are combined together, and we figure out these results can create one algebraic model. We can kind of put them together to create one algebraic model, and we confirm using a computer simulation that this holds over a variety of different circumstances. So in summary, we figure out that stopping time is affected by these 3 things. Algebraically, they're related in this way. And when multiple factors vary at the same time, this algebraic model can help us make predictions. So these are some examples of speed graphs that we look at on day 1. You can see in purple, we're making a prediction of how stopping time would be affected with more or less mass. So we effectively change the slope of the speed time graph, showing that it takes more time or less time to stop if we have more mass that we're trying to stop. The speed time graph, if we double the speed, is especially interesting because the initial speed has to be higher, but then the slope that shows us slowing down takes longer to get to 0. This qualitative reasoning is what turns into the quantitative data collection with this force cart. And this really is, this apparatus is a challenge to build, but once you have them, they provide a really golden opportunity for students to design and carry out their own investigations. So thinking of science and engineering practice 3 about planning and carrying out investigations, this lesson is very heavy with that. The official build suggests that you use foam. I made mine out of wood, and they last longer that way. If you have access to woodworking tools of any kind, I would recommend that. Other means of carrying out this investigation also work. I've seen people set up something like this, where you don't need a special cart. You just use one of these smart carts. You may only have one for the whole class, in which case this will not work. But if you have a smart cart for every group, then you can set it up like this, where instead of the brake of the cart engaging like this, the cart hits a block and slides to a stop that way. You can collect great data using this setup. And then the challenge for students in either case becomes actually analyzing that data. So we combine. I'll say more about what this looks like later on, but we combine all of the class's data into this algebraic model, and then we use a simulation to test it, to say things like, if I double the change in speed and the force, there is no change in stopping time. Or if I quadruple force and I double the mass, then the stopping time doubles. These more complicated predictions are more easily made with the algebraic model. We then apply these same ideas in the next lesson to real-world data about a research paper into stopping time on wet roads and like people's responses to yellow lights. So you'll see here there's a speed time graph that is pretty similar to the speed time graphs that we've looked at previously. Um, and students apply that to think about why wet roads would be less safe. Some tips and tricks about this lesson. First off, this is our first instance of looking at Newton's second law, but we will revisit this same relationship multiple times throughout the unit from multiple perspectives. I'm showing you these three perspectives on the right. These are the same relationship, just expressed in different ways to think about what is basically F equals ma here, if we're hitting something, or this relationship down here is essentially conservation of momentum. Um, I would argue that while OpenSciEd Physics High School is not a comprehensive AP or IB course by any means, Unit 3, the unit that we're looking at here, is a great introduction to those courses. If you taught P3 first in an AP or IB course, you would set students up to understand this like flexibility with algebraic models, and then you could leverage that across other contexts. I really love the way this unit treats this equation, this relationship, because we're working with it in multiple different ways, collecting data in multiple ways. So we're not just presenting them an equation sheet and saying, like, here's the relationship that you'll need. Another science and engineering practice that features heavily in this unit is using mathematics and computational thinking. When we are looking at our class's data, we need to figure out what type of line will fit this data. For the data that's going up, it's pretty straightforward. We will assume that there's a proportional relationship. Look out for a non-zero y-intercept on the mass investigation. I haven't found that students are bothered by that, but it can happen. But then this difference between the blue line and the purple line for the effect of force data is tricky. Like, students might be inclined to think of it as a straight line, and it is this SEP, use simple limit cases to test mathematical expressions, that helps them think about, like, okay, which of these lines would actually make sense given what I know about how the real world works. So this is an example of real data from my class. Both the blue line and the purple line fits, and we need to think about, like, okay, what would happen if we used a very, very, very large force? Would you expect it to take negative time to stop, or would you expect it to take very, very little time to stop? So we end up concluding as a class that the purple line is actually more useful. We figure out this equation, and like I said, we come back to it over and over again, so it'll be helpful to have this posted. We encounter these terms, force and time, in these contexts, and we will look at those in other contexts as well. I really love speed time graphs, what will ultimately become velocity time graphs. I will make sure to have a few examples of these graphs to point to on my wall, and these are great for that. Like, if you make a poster of these types of velocity graphs or speed graphs showing things slowing down, then they will be useful for students to refer to later on in the unit. Tune in next time for a discussion of lesson 5. Thank you very, very much.